Welcome to the Lost and Found podcast. I'm your host, Amanda. Join me each week as I rediscover my life's meaning, my passions, and my place in this world after leaving behind the only dream I've ever known. If you are dealing with self-loss, identity changes, career transitions, or you are still trying to figure out your life's purpose, then you're not alone. Join me. Wanderers are always welcome. Okay, everybody, welcome back to the Lost and Found podcast. This is your host, Amanda. I'm so excited to have you here. Today's guest is somebody who I absolutely love and adore, who is your number one favorite episode of 2024. We have brought back Ash Cebulka. She is someone whose presence feels like a permission slip to just pause, breathe, and come back to yourself. And so I'm so glad to be welcoming her back. She is an intuitive transformation guide, PSYCH-K practitioner, and she was our number one downloads from last season. So today's conversation, we're going to be focusing on something that everybody here struggles with, which is often something we do in silence, but it's our people pleasing, our emotional patterns, and the subconscious scripts that are shaping our lives. So Ash is going to help us explore the cost of constantly trying to be liked, how doing this is disconnecting us from our body's wisdom, and why so many of us have learned to just survive by abandoning our personal truth. So everybody, please welcome Ash back to the show. Yay. Yeah.
I'm
Hi.
so happy to be here. Thank you. What a
Yes,
warm
I'm so glad
welcome.
you're here. I'm so glad we could work this out. I know schedules are kind of crazy, and your business has kind of blown up since the last time we talked to each other. And we were, before we started recording, you were mentioning you're getting more collabs, you're getting more offers, you're still splitting a lot of your time, right? Like between New York
Yeah.
and Charleston and traveling all over. So you must be exhausted, but I appreciate you being here.
I feel great today. So thank you for having me. Yeah.
Oh, good,
Yeah.
good. Well, tell us a little bit about what you've been up to since we last spoke. I know you mentioned you've kind of changed a couple of things when you used to be working with a different partner, but now you're doing a couple of different retreats that are located in other places. Like, how have you been? What have you been up to?
I've been good. How have you been?
Chaotic. I don't know if I didn't get the chance to tell you. I left Nashville, so I moved out and moved in with my parents to save some money and handle some personal things for them. Like our grandparents are getting older, and my mom was the primary caretaker, and my brother was about to he was getting married and having a baby, and all these things kept happening. And I was kind of like, you know what? I don't want to miss out on my family life again. And I did that before in my old career. And luckily I'm in a new career now that's very flexible and enables me to work hours that allow me to help my family and take care of my family and still get paid. So that was really nice. And they were very flexible and understanding about that.
Oh, that's
So right now,
amazing.
yes. So I'm incredibly lucky to be a part of that career and that family right now. It enables me to do so much. I decided I needed to take advantage of that opportunity and try and save some money and reinvest a bit of that saved money into myself and the show and figure out where I'm trying to go. Because even though we're almost 2 years into this project, I still have almost no answers. So it's fine. But I think it's been the right decision. Or I've talked about it a couple of times on the show, but earlier this year on my birthday in January, I kind of woke up that week and I had that intuitive like kind of thought just on my heart or on my body really that was like, this is going to be the year that changes your life. I didn't hear anything else after that. And so I was like, okay, sure. Yeah. I've listened to everything else you've said. Let me just believe you now. And a few weeks went by and I had another intuitive moment where I'm not really thinking about anything, but then the voice said, in order to get where you want to go, you have to give up more. You have to shed a lot more. And and I started responding of like, I how much left do I have to give? Because like I've gave up my dignity. I'm putting my whole heart and soul on this podcast. I'm out in public saying these things on the internet and like I have no idea what I'm doing. I already left my old job with no plan. Like, what are you talking about? And the answer was like, you scrap everything. You start over. You don't need a big city. You don't need all these restaurants. You don't need all these amenities, I guess, right? You need to get down to the bare basics and reinvest in yourself. And so that was kind of the answer. I've got so much more to shed before I get where I need to go. And so that's what I've been trying to do the last 6 months of this year is just shedding and getting rid of things and moving and downsizing and like really only thinking about what exactly do I want and how to do that. Whether or not I'm doing it the right way, I don't know.
Of
That's
course
kind
you're
of
doing it the right way because you're doing it. There
yeah,
is
because
no way,
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. The fact that
How beautiful. How are you feeling like in the process? I imagine it's like every emotion
yeah.
under the sun.
It's every emotion, yeah, like you said. A lot of it is, it's still letting go of the what other people might think about what I'm doing.
Mm,
Because clearly my family loves it and they want me closer than ever, but I still worry, I guess, sometimes about the cost of what it takes to invest in something that you love or that you care about. I've seen this a few times on the internet now where people have been posting, like, "If you're worried about what it costs to do the thing you love, you should really be afraid of what it costs to never even try." That kinda concept, because you'll never be able to conceive the amount of money of not taking the risk, right? But if you
so
invest
true.
the 10K, the 20K, if you get the business coach or you get the whatever trainer that you're trying to become, like somebody to be your mentor, that kind of a thing. Yeah, it might be, 3 grand, 6 grand, 10 grand. I don't know. I'm just throwing out things. The cost of that versus the return you could get by becoming the person you wanted to become.
Mm.
That's whether that's an influencer, an author, a business owner, or whatever. And I think mostly for me right now, it's not the question of what would I not be willing to do because I've already been willing to do all these things. It's a lot about um, what's my freedom worth to me. And
What a
I think
beautiful question.
right. So how much and when I get afraid, Kristen is still helping me sometimes with the podcast and like trying to figure out which guests should come on and when to do videos and editing and things and advertisement. He's been great, but every time we have to do something to level up, it costs a little bit more or it costs a little bit more. And I'm kind of like,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
and he says this back to me. He's like, you're new, you don't know what this is like, but like this is to get you through the door. This is gonna we do this, it'll bring you this. If we do this, it'll bring this. So it's been helpful to kind of have somebody talking to me that's inside the industry that understands what's going on.
Yeah.
But that's the question I have to ask myself every time he realizes I'm being hesitant. It's kind of like, Amanda, okay, this costs this now,
Mhm.
but what does your freedom cost you? Like the idea of eventually trying to live a life that you want to be a part of. Where do you go from there? So I'm asking myself a lot of questions all the
Good
time.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good for you. And I love that you just said that you're asking yourself a lot of questions instead of
Mhm.
outsourcing, you're
Yeah.
insourcing. And that's like the most powerful thing you can do because the intuition is the wisest. It's always got the answers you're looking for, even if they come a little slower in a slow drip than you'd prefer,
Yes.
but they're always there.
Yeah. They're always there and
Mhm.
learning to listen to it as well. I haven't heard anything since I moved, so I think maybe it's just kinda like, "Okay, good job. Yeah, alright, yeah." And I need to keep practicing how to listen to that and where I feel it, but lately it's been always when I'm alone, right? Or
Mhm.
I'm walking or I'm riding my Peloton bike or something, like, I'm doing something where my brain is shut off enough that I think
Mhm.
it's just receptive to things.
Sure.
Um,
Do you know
yeah.
your human design? Have we talked about this?
I think we mentioned it a little bit, and that was another thing I wanted to ask you, either offline or on the interview today, but, I want to say manifesting generator, but I've only ever done one of the, like, free quizzes online, so I don't know how accurate it is.
Uh-huh.
But that I've been really fascinated in that test versus all the other personality tests or the astrology tests because I don't
Mhm.
every time I feel like I read something about Capricorns, I'm like, "That's sort of true," or "I don't really feel true to that," but the human design information always seems to be a bit more accurate.
Are you Capricorn sun? Like, is that your sun sign?
I have no idea. I was born January 16th, so I know
Yeah, yeah. That's your
I'm a
sun.
Capricorn in that sense, but
Yeah.
yeah, but the
Because
sun,
they
moon, rising, and I'm like,
yeah.
I don't know.
All the astrology things. I know that's not the point of today's conversation, but that's interesting. Yeah, I want to dive into your human design with you. Something I'm doing a lot in my business with my one-on-one clients and even in retreats. We're diving into people's human design and four things specifically. They always say like understanding your energy type is really important. So that's if you're a generator, a manifesting generator, a projector, a reflector, or in addition to that, I mean, is understanding your strategy, which is how you make things happen. And then I think it's really, really critical to understand if you're an emotional or non emotional, and then what your authority is. So, those to me are like the top four things to know. The reason why I'm mentioning that is your authority is how your intuition speaks to you. So, the whole point of human design is to help people get out of their minds and into their actual bodies, because the body is what holds the wisdom. And we probably touched on this last time we spoke, but like, your body is the subconscious. It's also where your intuition speaks to you. And not everybody has a gut intuition. And we're moving further and further into really a world in which people are going to become more intuitive than ever. We're moving away from the masculine structure, the masculine energy that we're watching a lot of systems crumble that have been operating in hyper masculine. And now we're moving more into feminine energy, which also means being much more intuitive. And so it's really important to me that everybody understands the unique way that their intuition speaks to them, because not everybody has a gut intuition. That's a myth. We've been told that for many years,
Right.
but some people have a splenic intuition. Some people have a mental intuition, which is kind of rare, but that is when things make sense to you. And when you understand the way your intuition speaks to you through human design, it helps you get out of your head trying to figure things out and using your intuition to make life decisions, because that is where we should all be making decisions from, because it always knows what's in the highest good for us. And that information is always available if we can tune into our body and listen to the way it's uniquely sharing with us. So anyways, I want to talk to you about that further more.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be really good though, because I bet you, does the human design play into it all, the cognitive scripts that that person might deal with, or the
Oh yeah.
issue they may come up against too? And if you want, we can use me as an example for today's discussion. If I'm a manifesting generator, what are some of the things that a manifesting generator might struggle with, and how would you help them address the cognitive script that's going on in their head?
Oh, this is so fun. Okay, yes. I think human design is like a great jumping off point for this. Why? I'm going to tell everybody who might be skeptical of human design. I was the biggest skeptic. And as a matter of fact, I couldn't stand it at first. And the reason being is that I really don't like labels in any way, shape, or form. And so I had spent so much of my life like stripping down the labels, not buying into them anymore in order to on my own healing journey and to get connected to myself. So at first I was so not into it, because obviously manifesting generator, like those are labels. But once I did dive into it, of course, like so many things, the thing we have the most resistance to, there's usually equal, if not more, power on the other side once we move through the resistance. I realized, holy, I mean, it is the ultimate permission slip to be who you naturally are. Your human design is the description of your aura. It is the science of the mechanics of how you're designed. And so it is scientifically based. It's a combination of astrology, I Ching, along with a couple of other things, the tree of life from Kabbalah, and it was channeled through this guy. And so when you understand what your human design is, it not only helps you really give yourself permission to operate in a way that is so true to who you naturally are, and then it highlights all the conditioning that you've bought into that keeps you from giving yourself that permission. So, for instance, as a manifesting generator, you actually have the most energy of all the energy types. So that means you're a combination of a manifester and a generator. So generators are here to generate, it's just what it sounds like, generate a lot of energy. They have a defined sacral motor. So it's like they can just go, 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 go all the time, especially as long as they're doing what they love. And when they're doing what they love, they produce this sparkly, juicy energy. And it's not even necessarily what they're doing, it's just wanting to be around that joy and that warm, enveloping aura that they create when they're doing what they love. Manifestors are actually quite different. They're here to initiate change. They're like the spark plugs of our world. So they're the people who have big, bold, strong energy, and they're here to use that to help move us forward, humanity as a whole, as a collective. And so they will have big ideas and they are born through them, and then they need to act on them when those ideas come through them. But then they need a ton, and I mean a ton of downtime. They're in a rest cycle for almost 80% of their life. So as a manifesting generator, you have a combination of both. So you actually have the most energy of everybody, and you're not meant to be on a straight linear path in life. Although our society certainly conditions you to believe otherwise. And so what that means is that you're meant to bounce around, try lots of different things, be interested in all different kinds of things. And we love learning from you and those things that you're interested in. And you're not even meant to do things like in your day-to-day life in a straight order. So a lot of people who are manifesting generators think that they have ADD, but it's actually them living in alignment
Ah,
to
okay.
bounce around and do things. They'll always get it done. It's just that they're not going to do it in the order that like a generator would. So I'm a generator. Generators are here to master one thing in life, to find the thing that they are so called to do that they love and to just like hone in on it and just go deeper, deeper, deeper. And they can do things in a straight line. Manifesting generators are like meant to bounce around. They're certainly not going to have a career in one area forever. And if they are, they're living out of alignment most of the time. And so, even when you think about this conversation that we want to have about people pleasing, there's conditioning around how you're supposed to show up energetically, how you're supposed to show up in school, like scholastically, in career, and even relationships. And so, what we're talking about, that bouncing around, can make you feel as though you're inconsistent, or other people can perceive it as inconsistent, but that's not the case. It's actually living how you're meant to. But then you could shame yourself. And so then you start doing things in a way that actually is not aligned, and it doesn't feel right in your body. Is this tracking so far?
Yeah. Definitely the description of the 2 combined, a generator drilling down into something, and I feel like I've definitely done that before, but the manifestor being able to go to lots of different directions, but then still needing the rest. But especially the manifestor needing to, when they have the idea, act on it then, not wait later, because that's where they can get out positive impact or the most, like, successful outcome of whatever that particular project is. Because that's what's been happening on the podcast. Like, I'll
Yeah.
have spurts of ideas, and I have to write them down right then and there, or else I'll forget them, or I won't act on them later. So I've definitely noticed that. But
Yeah.
the generator part where, like, if I find a particular guest or just this skill in general, right? Learning how to be a podcaster, I'm constantly watching YouTube videos, doing research on more equipment, other studios, trying to find other people that I admire in the industry and watching all of their content and trying to learn from that and drilling far. But the concept in and of itself for the show, to keep it interesting, not only for me, I'm interviewing people from all walks of life, from all different levels. It's not celebrities only, it's everyday people, it's my friends, it's people like you that live in other places from me who've lived completely different lives, and learning how to share stories with one another. That's really important to me too. So I'm trying to be more consistent for the business requirements aspect of it, but how I generate my creativity or how my creativity flows through me sounds very similar to what a manifesting generator operates as. And the idea that you start to shame yourself for not living in a way that people want you to live, or not presenting publicly in a way that people are expecting you to present as. I did that a lot growing up, really hated being so emotional. Like, I don't know if it's necessarily the problem for empaths, I guess, but just being hyper aware of the emotions that are around me and body language and the vibe of a room. If you pick up on tension or love or anxiety from other people. And I don't think I necessarily absorbed it when I was little, but being told not to express what I was feeling or receiving sucked, right? And so then you
Sure.
blamed yourself for being a crybaby, and it's like, "But I'm overwhelmed. There's nothing else I can do except cry right now." I talked about this for in a few other episodes way back in the day, but, like, hating myself growing up as a kid. "How come you can't keep it together?" Or, "How come you can't do whatever?" And it wasn't that at all. It's you just don't understand who you are yet, and how to
Yeah.
celebrate that in the right way when you don't have the words because you don't know what's going on. That can be really tough. And you're
Oh,
trying to make friends, you're trying to move up in society, you're trying to do well in your career, and you have to, right? Because everybody has to make money, they have to be able to survive. It's very interesting and so true how quickly something can take a toll on you when you're not realizing that you're telling yourself a certain story, or you are presenting in a way for other people to feel comfortable around you. You don't wanna rock the boat.
of course. Yeah. Oh, thank you for sharing all of that. Yeah. I mean, this makes me want to look at your chart right now because
Yeah.
because again, it's another permission slip. So what I was saying
Mhm.
earlier, and you talking about being emotional and being very empathic. So everything we're talking about even leads into people pleasing. But to understand the difference between if you're an emotional or non emotional, to me is like literally life changing. And I see it over and over again for people in human design. So, what that means is that over 51% of the population are what's called emotional. So, that means that they have an undercurrent of emotion, a wave of emotion that's moving throughout their system every day, all day. And it really actually doesn't have much to do with the outside world. They are producing their own emotions. And a lot of times, emotionals will think that they have like a mental illness or something's wrong with them. But really, they're here to show us the beauty of the vast array of emotions.
Mhm.
And they're here to actually ride that wave and to not make decisions until they're in a neutral state and then feel it out. So their emotions are actually linked to their intuition. They're informing them of what's aligned for them and what's not. And it's hard for emotionals because they've got to wait a little longer in order to really hear their intuition because they've got to ride that wave. They're not supposed to make decisions when they're in a heightened emotional state, like really upset, or if they're really low. They've got to come back to the neutral state and then feel it out and be like, okay, does this still feel sweet and exciting to me, or is it like a no? And then make a decision, right? Whereas non emotionals are the true definition of empaths in the sense that, and that's 49%. So that means that they are literally a blank slate. Like I'm a non emotional. I can't speak to which one you are. I wish I looked at your chart before this,
Right,
but
yeah.
um, I'm a non emotional, which means that literal blank slate. So our natural state is very cool, calm, and collected. But oftentimes, and this is what I thought in the beginning, I'm like, oh my God, I feel so emotional. How could I be a non emotional? And it's because non emotionals are deeply affected by any energy outside of them because it's such a contrast to their natural state. So that's why it's a true definition of an empath. Like they could be, they really don't, they have, of course, emotions, but they don't have as many emotions, especially comparatively speaking to an emotional,
Mhm.
except for when they're affected from something by the outside world or if they're around another person who's experiencing an emotion. So that's when they feel a lot. But when they come back to their neutral state, they're actually cool, calm, and collected like a lake. So for non emotionals, when they're around a heightened emotional event or they're around somebody who's feeling a lot, let's say they're around an emotional and that emotional is feeling anger at a 2. But to the non emotional being around it, it feels like a 10 because it's such a contrast to their natural state. So, like, I'm a non emotional and I grew up with 2 emotional parents. They appear very chill and they are very chill. But, like, I was always like, what's going on? I was always asking them tons of questions. Are you okay? And they're like, yeah,
Mhm.
I'm fine. But to them, it isn't a big deal because they're used to that wave going throughout their system all day long, right? Whereas to me, it feels like freaking Mount Vesuvius. I'm like, it feels like you're about to erupt because it's such a contrast to my design. And so when you understand which one you are, it helps you understand how to navigate your internal system and also to empty out all that energy that you're carrying that you've collected from the outside world that's not yours to carry. And so,
Mm,
as non emotionals, it's extremely important to empty out every single day so that you can come back to your center. I have a free meditation that I can share with your audience that I created for this exact reason. It's really for everybody. I just
sure.
find that non emotionals need it even more because they're collecting stuff. They're really collecting stuff that's not theirs. And then they mistake it for theirs. And then they think that they're anxious. But really, a lot of times, it's energy from the outside world that they've taken on and haven't emptied out.
Yeah, let's dive a little bit deeper there then, because
Yeah.
I don't have my test, I have no idea what my chart would actually say about me, but I do think a lot of times for me, I don't talk about what's going on, or I used to not talk about what was going on or what I was thinking or feeling because I was just like, it's not important. My opinion doesn't matter. Or
Mhm.
my emotions can come secondary to whatever else is going on around me because I just need to keep the peace, which is probably a female taught thing. We teach women not to rock the boat for lots of different reasons, but I would bury that down until it gets like real close. You can feel it in your throat almost. You're like, oh my
Mhm.
God, I don't think I can keep this down any longer. So for anybody that might be a non-emotional and they are realizing they've held all this baggage from other things, what would you teach your client about how to start letting go of some of that? And
Mhm.
let go of that tendency to want to people please to just kind of get through.
Well, here's what I'm going to say based on what you just shared, that this would apply for non-emotionals or emotionals, because you just gave the definition of people pleasing, and really what is people pleasing? It's self-abandonment. And so let's strip it back for a second and talk about why we do it. It's at some point, you don't, of course, this wasn't conscious. This usually happens between the ages of 0 to 7 when your subconscious is like a sponge. And so you don't have the analytical facilities to question any thoughts that you have or any experiences or the conditioning that you're receiving both from your family and from society. So you are a sponge, you're absorbing it, and that's when your subconscious is programmed. So usually during that time, if you've adapted the, let's call it the persona of people pleasing. The reason being is that you were in environments enough times that felt unsafe that you decided that your needs didn't matter and it was more important to push those down in order to feel safe in that environment. So you became the person that became malleable, you chameleonized yourself in order to be nice to everybody, to make the peace. And it's not like you were consciously aware of it, but ultimately it was so that you felt safe. Okay. But over time, you do that enough times, then it eventually becomes a personality, because a
Right.
personality is a personal reality that's been created from a series of choices and beliefs and habits over time. Okay. So now here you are, and you've learned that in order to feel safe, you have to abandon yourself and your own needs. So what I tell clients, first and foremost, the most effective way to address that is to work with the subconscious. As you mentioned earlier, I'm trained in PSYCH-K. There's like a handful of modalities that speak directly to the subconscious. Traditional therapy, most of the time, is not. It's talking to the conscious mind, which is 5% of your daily habits, thoughts, and beliefs. 95 to 98% is in the subconscious. So, rewiring those beliefs that is triggering that response in your body, because really it is a nervous system response. And I think that's important for people to understand. People pleasing is a nervous system response. It is your body going right into an action without you even really thinking about it, because it is what has historically kept you safe. So, what you've got to do is change the beliefs, because your nervous system is actually governed by the subconscious. So, when you change the beliefs in the subconscious, it creates a new set point in the nervous system, and then you start to feel safe speaking your truth. So that is something that I would tell my clients, like, first and foremost, go to the subconscious. And if you're not going to do that through PSYCH-K or the other modalities, then consistently repeating to yourself, because the subconscious loves repetition. It's safe for me to speak my truth. My needs are just as important as everybody else's. It's safe for me to do something different than what I've always done. Because you think about it, these are all the things that your body doesn't believe. So you've got to get your body on board with knowing that it's safe to change the program, because it's just operating on an old program.
Yeah. And I feel like that would be terrifying, right? To go, all
Mhm.
right, I've spent 30 plus years telling myself this one story about who I am or what I'm supposed to be doing. And now you're telling me I'm supposed to say the opposite. It feels weird, right? To start
Feels
saying
good.
that at all, that it feels completely abnormal to start reversing the sentence that I am a person that deserves XYZ, not I'm unworthy, I'm small, or it doesn't matter. And it's really so hard because I know your brain is attracted to the negative more than the positive sometimes, because the negative is what is going to kill you. The negative is what, keeps you from getting to do what you need to do. So you're always searching for the things that might be going wrong or that reinforce that original thought, which if your original thought was bad, then that's what your brain is searching for proof. And so you have to teach yourself to look for the opposite thing, and that it takes time. And luckily, there are people like you that can help us and coach us through a lot of those things. So I'm curious if you could kind of explain, I know some people that might be listening to this might feel like, well, I've tried to tell myself these affirmations. I've tried to tell myself the opposite story, and it's just not working. So maybe you could dive a little bit deeper now about like the role that the nervous system regulation does play in rewiring those behaviors and why it's so hard for people to change these patterns just through their own willpower or just through talk therapy by itself. There's so much more to it, right?
Yes, yes, yeah, of course. First of all, talk therapy, like what a gift. It is such a wonderful thing. Talk therapy helps us raise awareness to our old tapes, to the things that we're ready to outgrow. It helps us get in touch with the conscious mind, which also is the part of us that thinks creatively. So it helps us tap into our desires and what we want and the things that we want to change, which is such a vital part of change is awareness. It's the first step. It's just that, as I've already mentioned, the subconscious is what's running the show 95 to 98%.
Mm.
And so it's really important to go directly to the root and elevate your consciousness in that way so that you can start having a different physical experience. It doesn't have to be very complicated. You do not have to be in therapy for years in order to change those tapes. And that's what I really want people to know, because I have so many people who've come to me who've been in therapy their whole lives since they were like 8 years old. And now they're 40 and they're getting more results because they're going directly to the source, the subconscious. They're closing the trauma loops, they're changing the tapes in there, the beliefs in there, and they're having a different physical and mental experience because of it. I'm just going to explain Psych-K, but then other ways that people can make these changes if they can't schedule sessions like that. So the reason why Psych-K is so effective is because you're using the physical body. You're not actually using the mind that much. And you can, we call them balances. So you can rewire a new belief in the matter of a minute. And you can close a trauma loop in the matter of, scientifically speaking, it really only takes 2 minutes. The conscious mind will try to spin a lot of stories and tell you it's going to take forever, but
Right.
it really doesn't take that long. And that's because the subconscious is 40 million times stronger than the conscious mind. So that's, again, another reason why it's so much more effective to go to that route, because it's making change happen at such a faster, almost incomprehensible rate compared to the conscious mind. With Psych-K, we do balances, we discover what you do or don't believe, and then we can change that narrative. So for instance, around people pleasing, some beliefs that support that change so that you can stop that habit is it's safe for me to speak my truth. I trust myself. My needs are just as important as everybody else's. I'm comfortable feeling all of my feelings. It's safe for me to express my feelings.
Yeah.
It's safe for me to be vulnerable. I'm just listing a few, but there's many. So when you think about it now from what I've just shared with you, if you change that in the subconscious, it's not just changing the thought patterns that you're having on a daily basis, it's informing your body that those experiences that I just spoke of are true. So your nervous system's no longer getting activated every time you go to speak your truth. You're no longer thinking you're running from a tiger. You're no longer like paralyzed with fear, or your palms are sweating, or you feel sick to your stomach, because you have a different program that's informing the nervous system that it is in fact safe. So it's no longer getting activated. It's like supercharging it basically, you know? Now, if you don't work with somebody and go directly to the subconscious, other ways that you can reprogram it is through repetition. It takes longer, but it is possible. So pausing, if you're in an environment in which your go-to, like your snap reaction would be to go into people pleasing, a very simple practice is connecting with your breath, pausing, really tuning into yourself and asking, what do I need right now? And really listening to what that need is. And then telling yourself it's safe for me to express that need, or it's safe for me to take care of that need. And that could be completely internal, or it could be a conversation that you're having with somebody else. Because so much of why we reach for instant gratification, part and by no means all of why people dive into addictive tendencies, is because we're trying to escape uncomfortable feelings. We have not been taught to sit with uncomfortable feelings, and that we're actually here to have a range of feelings in any given day. And there's nothing wrong with any of them. If we approach it from a place of neutrality, you can see, like, oh yeah, I feel angry, or oh, I feel scared. And if you can essentially reparent yourself in those moments and say, like, hey, it's okay. It's okay to feel scared, to speak your truth. I understand. And what do you need right now? Oh, you need me to speak your truth. Okay. I'll be the brave one. I'm going to do it. And it's okay. We're going to get through this. And just speaking to yourself. I know that a lot of people in my industry will tell you to just like bypass the fear or kind of tough love your way through it. I just think that has never worked for me, and it doesn't work for any of my clients. We all just want so much love, you know? love for ourselves, love to be able to give to others. And so when you say that really lovingly to yourself, I find that it almost automatically helps you soften. And then within that softening, you're able to really hear what your needs are and then tend to them in that moment.
Absolutely. Especially if nobody else around you speaks that way to
Mhm.
you, then you need to make the decision or the choice to start speaking that way to yourself. Exactly like you said previously that like the only way to change your life and to change your thoughts is to cognitively and purposefully choose this path, speaking to yourself this way.
Mhm.
And I'm sure I've probably asked you a question where you felt like you had to go in depth twice, but I really wanted to try and hit it home that
Mhm.
you're not a for anybody that's listening, and for myself included, trying to do these things and changing these scripts and stopping people-pleasing habits or tendencies is very, very difficult, and doing it
Mhm.
alone is even harder, and so I appreciate you going in depth trying to explain, like, how the nervous system and Psych-K works together and how you're helping people, particularly your clients, deal with situations like people pleasing in this way and giving them those new cognitive scripts to
Mhm.
recite. Because a lot of times or I don't know if you notice this in the industry, but at least like a lot of self-help, it's still very self-help, right? Do it yourself. And yes, you need to take the first step, but you're not a failure if you're trying to do all these different things to change your life and it's not going well initially or it doesn't
Mhm.
feel like it's working. Like you're not flawed for forever. You're not a failure for forever. You're not like ruining
Mhm.
your chances of getting better just because it may not be clicking yet. And so I really appreciate you going through this really step by step to try and teach people you have to listen to yourself and then catch yourself in those moments. And when you do, you can address it. You can bring it back down. And so I appreciate you going in depth like that.
Yeah. Sure. The other thing that I want to add to it that I think is really important is whatever higher power you believe in. I think that is a vital part of any, I mean, first and foremost, just be connected to life force in life in
Yeah.
general. But I think it's, especially when you're going through growth, which we all are all the time, I think it's really important to realize that there's something higher than all of us at play here. I study Kabbalah, which I really resonate with, but whatever people resonate with. So let's just say universe, God, let's just say universe because it tends to land for a lot of people. Universe, please help me transform this old habit of people pleasing. Please give me the strength and the bravery to do the thing that will help me change and help me every day until it is transformed. You know, ask
Cool.
for guidance, ask for assistance. Like you have spirit guides, you have the universe. There's so much more energy at play than just you. And I think the beautiful gift that comes with having been a people pleaser and transforming that is that it is such a gateway, it is such a beautiful invitation to create the most loving relationship with yourself because you know the opposite of it. You know what it's like to abandon yourself. And so it's just an invitation. Like there's nothing wrong with you. As a matter of fact, it's a gift for you to do just what I said, to transform. And we all in Kabbalah they call it tests. I like to call them opportunities, but like we all have opportunities in life that we're born with, that we accumulate over time to help us have a stronger relationship with ourselves and the divine. And people pleasing is one of them. And so if
Yeah.
you look at it at that takes away the harshness and the judgment towards yourself. And instead, it feels more, I hope, like an invitation to come home to yourself. Like, oh yeah, I don't have to do this anymore.
I love that, and I like the reframing of this isn't something you're doing that's necessarily wrong. It was something you were
No.
taught, either on purpose or subconsciously, but now you know what the opposite is, right? Now you know that life could be so much better because you've already lived in the version that isn't working for you, and it's okay to admit when it's not working for you. Would you be
Mhm.
open to sharing maybe an example or a people-pleasing belief that you had, and how did you
Oh,
recognize what you were doing, and then how did you address it and switch it?
oh wow. Of course, I'm more than willing to share. There's just so many. So let me find one that's like helpful. There's so many. Hold on, let me see. What would be the most helpful for everybody to hear? For some reason, this keeps coming up, so I keep
Sure,
seeing
yeah.
it. There's two sides to it, and that's what I want everybody to understand. There's also a beautiful part of wanting to connect with people. There's a shadow and a light to this, just like there is with everything, right? So the light part is that you want to create harmony and you have an interest in creating peaceful environments and connection often. So that's such a beautiful thing. And then the dark side of it is that, and it's not even that dark, but this is your way of manipulating a situation so that you feel safe, right? And that's where
Right.
that's the darkness. So I don't remember if I told your audience this story before or not, but I was really sick in my teens and early 20s. I was in eating disorder hospitals and the loony bin many times. And I was very good at avoiding my issues and helping everybody else around me. And so that's where my people pleaser came out, because I was like, oh, if I could be really good at this and make everybody else, like help everybody else heal, essentially, then I don't have to look at my own shit. And
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
get out
I'm
sooner.
great. I'm doing good if everybody else is
Check out
happy.
of this joint as soon as I possibly can. And so that served me and other people in the sense that I was genuinely helpful. I always ended up helping my roommates and everybody else around me. But it cost me so much. It cost me healing more quickly. It cost me learning how to use my voice. And that trailed into relationships, both romantic, in business, in friendships. I was so much more concerned when I was younger with being liked and being able to fit in than I was about speaking my truth and being more bold about it and setting boundaries. And so it was very loud and pronounced in those environments in the hospitals, but then it trailed into relationships. And then it became a lot of codependency in many different, in my marriage, in other friendships. And then that codependency, again, I don't think that it's a negative thing. I just think it's a dynamic that happens. It's a consciousness. And so when I started to change my consciousness around by working with my subconscious and I really started to elevate it, it became apparent to me how much energy I had just given away to other people and not prioritized myself, and felt like my battery was at half, if not a quarter of a tank, rather than at full. And so really it didn't start to change for me for like a true transformation until I started working with my subconscious.
Mm.
And once I did that with PSYCH-K, I did it for years by myself before I even started using it with clients, because I really wanted to embody it. I didn't want to just teach it. And in doing so, it transformed literally all of my relationships. Some fell away, some the form changed. Like now I'm good friends with my former husband, but we're no longer married. And then it attracted people who were aligned with who I really am versus who I think I should be. And that has been like one of the greatest gifts of all times. I have such deep intimacy in all of my relationships. I am fully and completely myself everywhere I go. And I am discerning about who I let into my inner circle. And before, I would think I was being a bitch if I did that. Like I would think there was something wrong. I think I should get along with everybody. Like I would have such harsh judgment towards myself. And now it's like, oh my God, no, I love being this discerning because I'm so clear with who and where and how I want to spend my energy. And
Right.
before, when I was feeding that old narrative, it felt nearly impossible to understand that. So
Yeah, and it also sounds like you probably, by realizing this now and you've changed your relationships, you've watched
Mhm.
your true identity, I guess, come to fruition or come to the forefront where you can actually be who you are and it feels like you're in alignment and you feel good every day when you act like Ash, when you
Yeah,
respond
so
like
great.
Ash, not Ash with a mask on, but
Mhm.
just genuinely Ash. And that will change your life, and you're right, that will change the relationships around you because people joined your life based on who they thought you were or who they projected that you were, and when you stopped acting that way, it makes sense that those would fall apart or just change. And luckily, it's very good that, you and your ex-husband do work well together and you can
Yeah.
co-parent and things are stable. I know that that's always a major concern, I'm sure for many of your clients when they are going through
Mhm.
divorces, that relationship starts to change, but it changes for the opposite, and
Yeah.
that can be very scary, right? And
Oh, yeah.
you start clinging to things, being like, "Oh,
Mhm.
no, like, it's broken, I know I don't need it anymore, but I don't want it to turn into this," and then it still turns into that anyway because you can't control anything, and learning to let go of what really doesn't matter and protecting your energy. People are always saying that in the self-help, self-development space, protect your energy, care about your energy. And I know that sometimes, I don't know if your clients bring this up to you or not, but the difference between giving love and giving energy, because I think
Mhm.
sometimes growing up, I probably equated it to the same thing. And like, you
Mhm.
can care about someone or care about someone, a relationship that you have in your life, but you don't have to give it energy. Like, you can love the other
Yeah.
person, support them, believe in them, everything. But if they're draining, you can choose. All right, I'll see
Mhm.
you for 10 minutes a week. We can have coffee together. But then the rest of it's like, you
Yeah.
do you, I have to go do me. And so I don't know if that happens in your sessions with your clients or not, but conflating the two doesn't necessarily, they're not exactly the same either. Giving away your energy versus giving away love or showing love to other people. You're not actually a bitch. I don't believe that at all. But by setting a boundary, it just means you're protecting your energy. Learning to not confuse the two, I think, is also, just really important.
It's so important, and it's also such a slippery, like, listen, it took me a long time to get here. I'm not
Yeah.
trying to say that this happened overnight, and I don't want to depict it that way in any way, shape, or form. I mean, when I was going through divorce, I hired a team. I had a Psych-K coach, I had an energy healer, I had a psychic and medium. I mean, I was going to massages all the time. Like, I knew that I needed that team first and foremost to support myself, to show up in a way that I was proud of through an extremely hard time, to be the mom that I wanted to be. That was like my number one thing. I was like, and nothing else matters more than how I handle this with my daughter, as well as, of course, with my former husband, because I was a mission for us to be friends. It was such a strong, unshakable intention for me. But that took 2 years of working with them every week or every other week. I was unwavering with it. Am I saying everybody has to do it that way? Absolutely not. That was just my path.
Right.
But I don't want it to be depicted as though this happened overnight, because it certainly didn't. But in doing that deep, deep inner work, I was really, truly able to come home to myself. And I know with every fiber of my being that I'm whole. And so when you know and live from that place of wholeness, there's no need to please anybody. There's no need to look for outside approval, because it doesn't affect me either way. I love who I am and I love being me. And so if somebody doesn't like me, great. If they like me, great. But it doesn't change my opinion about myself. And I think that that's the road in recovering from people pleasing, is realizing that it is the greatest opportunity to return to your wholeness, because none of us are broken. I don't like that term at all. I think we can feel broken, but none of us are broken. We are
Right.
just being given opportunities to remember our wholeness, letting go of that old pattern and coming back to that inner knowing. You automatically start to do the things we're talking about. You automatically start to have discernment, because you're not going through this like checklist of who you have to be. It comes
Yeah.
very naturally.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I'm curious, maybe you did mention about your daughter and you wanted to be the best mom possible for
Mhm.
her, especially during a really difficult time. And
Yeah.
I know that that's got to be really hard when you're working on you, but you still have to show up for this tiny human. And you're doing everything in your power to heal. And you don't want to project what's going on onto your daughter either, because you're like, that's the last thing in the world I want to do is have
Yeah.
you deal with the same thing I'm dealing with now. Um, I'm curious for anybody that's listening that is a parent and they have maybe worked on themselves, or they've at least become self-aware enough to notice that they maybe have cognitive scripts, or they have negative thought patterns or things that they need to work
Mhm.
on, but they start to notice it show up in their kids. Is there
Mhm.
anything that we can do as parents to help them with their cognitive scripts or help them with their
Mhm.
people pleasing? Because I'm not a parent, so I don't know what it's like to raise a
Yeah.
child or I've engaged with a child in that way. So based on your expertise, all the personal transformation you've also been through, not only with your clients,
Mhm.
but yourself, is there
Mhm.
anything that parents can do if they start to notice people pleasing activity or negative thought pattern activity in their own kids? Is there something we can do to like stop it, or at least not tell them what to do? I know kids don't like to be told what to do, but help
My
them.
daughter certainly doesn't like to be told what to do.
Yeah. But,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
is there anything parents can do if they're listening and watching this right now? Is there something
Mhm.
they could do to stop it before it gets worse for your kid?
First of all, what a great question. And yes. And I also want to say something before I dive into that. As much as I say I'm whole, which I am, I just want to be clear that we're all going to have negative scripts throughout our life. Like, this is a dance. This is an ever evolving dance that doesn't end until we go to the other side, and then we come back in another life and get a new script. So it's like, we're all going to be doing this work forever. But the best part is it doesn't have to feel so hard if
Yeah.
you really understand that they're gifts for you to transform. That's something I love so much about Kabbalah, is that it's helped me understand whenever those challenging scripts are coming up, I say to myself, like, oh, this is good. Okay, great. I'm going to transform this. And it's not bypassing. It's like looking at it truly as an opportunity rather than something happening to you, right? It's like, oh, I get to transform this inner narrative that's just not true anyway. And
Yeah.
so in regards to parents, I'm going to share with you what I do with my daughter, like, very honestly, because I have certainly seen her dive into people pleasing. I could go on and on about that. But I think, especially because of our school system, which don't even get me started about how much that needs to be transformed. But
That's a whole other podcast
it's a
episode.
whole other podcast that I could rant about. But
Yeah.
I think that what I do with my daughter, she usually gets in like a certain voice, and I'm like, oh, there she goes. She's trying to do the thing. Because why are kids going into people pleasing? Because they want to feel safe and they want to get what they want in that situation. Okay. And they want to make sure that you're happy, so that in that situation as well, they don't want to feel threatened in any way, like something bad could happen to them. That's why kids slip into that. And so she usually gets into it like almost like a baby voice, but sometimes even in her regular voice. And I can just tell when she's going into people pleasing. And I stop her and I look at her and I say, Sienna, right now, I notice you're doing that thing where you're saying what you know I want to hear. And I don't want you to tell me what you want me to hear. I want you to tell me your truth. So I know that's uncomfortable, and I want you to feel the discomfort in your body. And then when you're ready, tell me what you really want, not what you want me to hear. And then she does. But this has taken time and practice, because I want her to know it's more safe to speak her truth, even if it's something that she thinks is going to disappoint me or upset me. I tell her, like, there's nothing that is going to upset me more than you lying to me.
Right.
So to me, you telling me the truth, we can work through whatever it is, even if you're going to be disappointed with the answer. Let's have an honest conversation, but don't ever abandon your truth in order to make me happy. And in doing that, she's a really brave little girl who knows how to say what she really thinks.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I hope that's helpful for parents.
No, I'm sure it will be. And that's a really hard thing to teach, right? Like, you want them, right? It's kind of like what you said. You're developing your personality between 0 to 7, and then from like 8 to 12 is when you start to get all the 7, 8. You're like pretty confident in who you are. You run around singing and dancing and climbing trees and
Mhm.
being goofy and just being a kid. And then at some point, somewhere between 8 to 12, you start to get all the societal things. Like,
Oh, yeah.
they're teaching you about adult conversations and adult activity and what you should look like, what you should wear, how you should talk, what you should listen to and not listen to, or what you need to care about, how you look like or not look like, and chips away at that. And so, like, that crucial section is a part where you're supposed to start. You would hope that you could go back and teach yourself, like, stay who you are, because as soon as you stay who you are, you're
Mhm.
going to feel better. You'll be happier. You'll figure it out. If you're waiting on everybody else's opinions for too long, like, you're never going to get it done, or you're not going to get what you actually want, or be successful in a way that makes you feel fulfilled, not based on what everybody else wants you to do to feel fulfilled. And so I think that what you said is helpful because it's just true, right, at the end of the day.
Mhm.
But as the parent, you have to also be comfortable with having that difficult conversation with your child. So if you're going to open the door, you got to be willing to walk through it too, and not you can't expect them to walk through the door if you don't at all, right?
Yeah, and don't punish them for saying something that's not what you wanna hear, like,
Right.
the gift of going through divorce when my daughter was 5.5, I guess. She's now 9, about to be 10 next month, which is
Oh
insane,
my
but
goodness.
is that, she saw me cry, like,
Yeah.
she saw me struggle, and I was honest, like, "This is hard, also know it's the best thing for us, but, like, this is hard, and I'm not." And we would cry together, I didn't hide my emotion from her,
Mhm.
and it opened up like a really honest dialogue between us. And because of that, that's only extended into the things that you're talking about, right? But it's also because human design, I can't emphasize enough to you guys, like it has been so life changing for me, but especially for parenting, because my daughter's a
Cool.
manifestor and I'm a generator. We are so freaking different in our energy types. And because of that, my daughter needs so much rest, unbelievable amounts of rest. And I was the Energizer Bunny as a kid. I never sat still. I was always going. It was not anxiety. I just had a natural, large amount of energy. And that's common for generators. Whereas my daughter, being a manifester, she gets a burst of energy. But a lot of times she likes to go to what she calls Couchlandia.
Huh.
And she
Cute.
goes and chills on Couchlandia. And she's like, Mom, I'm going into my universe. I need to go to Couchlandia and just relax and be at peace. And I'll let you know when I'm done. And
Those are some big words for like a 9-year-old to be able to say and explain to you,
oh my
right?
gosh,
Like,
she's saying that since she was 5. Like
yeah,
she's
no,
just
but just
very,
the
yes.
awareness, that's significant.
Yeah, she's very aware. And so she does that. But I mean, here's the truth. I would have thought something was wrong at how much my daughter like wants to relax and chill. Like she's not the kid who gets home from school and then wants to run around and play with all of her friends. No, she wants to completely be away from people and unplug until she has energy again and then she'll re-engage. And that's because she's aware of that, but also because I've encouraged it because I understand her human design. If I didn't know that, I would be pushing her to do a million activities to do what I did growing
Right.
up. Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it so helps you understand how individually designed we all are. And that also helps me have conversations like we're talking about with children. I understand that my daughter is also a non-emotional like me, so she has to empty out. Otherwise, she takes things on very personally. Like as manifestors, they take things very personally, more than other energy types. And so it's created a dialogue with us that helps me help her understand people pleasing, but also understand her body and how it's communicating with her. So
Mm.
for your listeners, like I can't emphasize to you enough for you guys, like find out your kids' human design. Understand yours first and understand theirs because it's going to be like the greatest parenting hack of all times for you.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's unfortunately we have hit our hour, so that's where we have to cut it off. But I do have our one final question for everybody. As you know, this is a show that's about helping people who are feeling lost in their life right now, or they've let go of an old identity and they're trying to get back to a new one and rebuild who it is that they are and what it is that they want out of life. So our final question for anybody that's listening that may be feeling that way right now, for someone that feels like they're stuck in maybe a people pleasing pattern and they're not sure how to shift, what is the first step that they can take today to move forward and let go of those old cognitive scripts and old identities that no longer serve them?
But first of all, give yourself so much love. I think that's the first step is to give yourself so much love and accept that that was the past and that you get to create a new future for yourself. I would say that's genuinely the first step. I think anytime we can't accept what's happened, there will be so much resistance in anything that we do moving forward that it will make it challenging to move forward. And then I would say, additionally to that, is to just like really start checking in with and listening to your needs every day. And then ask your body, like, what does my mind need? What does my body need? What does my soul need? And listen, and then have the courage to act on it. And some days you'll nail it, and some days you won't. And it's okay. Just like keep going.
Yeah, that's even the silly. I think on our last call, the previous episode, we talked about like even if it's something really silly, like
Yeah.
I what do I want right now? Ice cream. And you're kind of like, okay, like let me go do this. And then you do
Mhm.
little things at a time. I'm pretty sure that was what you gave last time, was that if you do little things at a time that are true to who you are and true to what you want, you'll
Mhm.
start to fit more into that identity, fit more into realizing who what your essence is and what is yourself and connect to it again, even if it's little pieces at a time. So I think that's great and a good reminder that any one of us can do this, but
Yeah.
you have to be open to the work that it's going to take to get there.
Yeah. And just be so loving with yourself, like so
Yeah.
loving.
Wonderful. Ash, please let everybody know where you are, what you're doing, how to find you if they want to work with you with the transformative coaching and the PSYCH-K projects. What's
Mhm.
going on with that and where can they connect?
Yeah, they can find me on my website, which is ashcebulka.com, or on Instagram, which is also Ash Cebulka. And I would love to hear from you and connect. I do one on one coaching with my clients. We usually do anywhere from 6 month to a year long containers so we can really get underneath and dive deep and create some true transformation. And then I'm doing a lot of retreats. So I do private one on one day retreats, group retreats, and then weekend retreats. I'll be doing some in Italy. There's one coming up in St. Bart's in November. Italy is going to be next year, but traveling a lot. I'll be on the road a lot doing these retreats, which I love so much. And they're a combination of deep transformative meditations where you connect with your higher self. We dive into your human design. We do
Yeah.
PSYCH-K. It's like a lot of my clients call it a spa day for your soul. So it's just, yeah, I love doing in person, and I'm going to be doing a lot more in person events coming up soon. So, yeah, that's where
Excellent.
everybody can
Yeah.
find me.
Good. I will make sure to put all of Ash's links into the show notes so that way you can follow up with her if you'd like or connect and go on one of those retreats. I know I'm going to save up my money for it because I think it'd just be so fun and it would be a good way. I always have the trouble of staying in my head
Mhm.
overthinking things even now still after starting the show. I still overthink a lot, so I think it'd be really good for me personally to truly practice what does it mean to out of your head and into your body again, and what does that feel like so that I can keep replicating it. But everybody, that's all we got for today's episode. I'm so glad you were here. Thank you so much for joining us today. You can find us at hello@podcastforthelost.com. We are on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Everything's under at Podcast for the Lost. I will put everybody's contact info in the show notes, but don't forget to like, subscribe, leave us a review, send us a DM if you have any questions. Be happy to answer everything we can in the comments. You can leave comments on Spotify and 5 stars on Apple. And we'll catch you next week. And remember, wanderers are always welcome.